But hey, we're going to continue this series. And again, we're in Matthew chapter 26. And we've been in this series called The Garden. And the garden for Jesus was the Garden of Gethsemane. And it was right before he's about to be crucified. He's about to die, be buried, 3 days later, come back from death and conquer death and all of that. This is right before that. So needless to say, it's a season of pressure. It was hard. It was difficult. He's wrestling with all of this. And so Jesus' garden, again, is this Garden of Gethsemane. And let's just read it. In Matthew chapter 26 says this. It says, then Jesus went with them to the olive grove called Gethsemane. And he said, sit here while I go over there and pray. And he took Peter and Zebedee's two sons, James and John. It says, and he became anguished and distressed. And he told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here, keep watch with me. It says in verse 39, he goes a little further. He bows his head to the face to the ground. And he begins praying. And what we see is Jesus is in his garden. It's a season that's tough, it's difficult. And we've been kind of defining what this season means. And the garden, if we had to give it a definition, it means this. The garden is a season of pressure that requires a decision of recalibration for the future. And this is where many of us find ourselves. That this season is full of pressure. Season is difficult. The season has been going on for years now, and it seems like there's no end in sight. And what we did to kind of navigate, let's make some changes, and we're trying to navigate pandemic life and everything that includes. And we've made some decisions that should have lasted a few months. Now they've become our life, and we're looking around, and you're like, I don't like this. And we need to make some changes. And what we did to kind of survive a hard season has now become our life. And we've been going through different lessons about using the garden to kind of talk through, like, what do we need to change? There's some things that need to be different because of what we're going through. And we can't just survive this life. We have to make some changes so we can actually thrive. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is your relationships, specifically your friendships, and how many of us need to revisit our relationships. We have some relationships we need to talk about, we need to revisit it, because your relationships are a big deal. The people you choose to surround yourself with is a big deal. We'll talk about this later, but what I noticed with Jesus, he's in his garden season. It's hard, it's difficult, and what does he do? He brings his friends with him. Now let's pause for a second. If Jesus, the perfect, sinless Son of God, in his hard season, needed friends, do you think we might need friends in our hard season as well? Even Jesus was like, this is hard, I need some friends. This is difficult, I need some relationships. This is painful, I need some people with me. And if we're honest, me and you, we're finding ourselves in a similar situation. Life is hard, life is stressful, life is difficult, and we're looking around at our relationships and we're just not content. We're not satisfied, we're not looking at, something's missing, something's lacking. And if you're in a hard seasons do this. They show you how dire good relationships really are. They show you how important. You ever been through something hard and you're just like wishing, man, I just need some advice. I just need someone to listen. I just need someone to care. And you're kind of assessing your relationships. You're kind of assessing your connections. And you're like, nope, not again. Nope, And you're looking around and you're like, I just wish I had godly friends who could help me through this season. I wish I wasn't so isolated so I could make that phone call, make that text, set up that lunch. And difficulty shows us the quality of our relationships, but it also shows us how important they are. And if we're honest, many of us in this tough season, we're just not content with the relationships we have, and we're looking for something more. So if that's you today, I hope I can help you. Because that's why Proverbs 17:17 says this, says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. When you're going through adversity, you need a friend. You need a friend who's going to love you at all times. You need a friend who's born, friends are born for adversity, difficulty. You need friends. You're not supposed to go through difficulty alone. Jesus didn't do it, and you can't do it either. And there's this lie that many of us believe that, well, just me and Jesus, and we're good. If Jesus needed people, You need people. You know how many scriptures talk about love one another, serve one another, care for one another, pray for one another, encourage one another, build one another up? How are you supposed to do all these one another's if it's just you and Jesus? You can't even obey scripture without people. What are the two greatest commandments? Love God and love not me and Jesus alone, we're good. False. Not true. You and Jesus are not good just by yourselves. He is all you need for salvation, but he is not all you need for this life. He alone is your salvation, but he alone, you need people. We are his body. You need connections. You need people. And so, research has shown, they were kind of polling people and they were talking about their friendships and relationships. And basically everyone, the majority, they're not satisfied with the quality of their relationships. And when spanning just the course of time, currently we just have less relationships now than ever before in human history. And it's crazy because we're more connected than ever before because of the internet and social media, but we have less quality relationships than ever before. And if we're honest with ourselves, we're looking around and we're like, I'm lacking, I'm struggling. So I began to think, well, why is this true? Why is it true that we struggle with relationships? What's the disconnect? And this isn't an exhaustive list, but I have 3 reasons why we struggle with relationships. Here's the first one. We struggle because relationships are risky. Because if you're going to let people close enough to help you, they also have to be close enough to hurt you. Even Jesus had a Judas. And you've gone through life long enough to know that relationships are risky. That people hurt you. That hurt people. That people let you down. People are imperfect. And maybe for you, you've had a friend that hurt you. Maybe at church, you opened up to a friend and they betrayed you. And for whatever, because of that situation, we say, we put up walls and we say, I'm just not going to let anyone close anymore because they hurt me. I'm putting up all these walls and you will never hurt me again. We say things like that. There's all these walls. You will never hurt me again. I'm just going to keep an arm's length from all of you. You can never hurt me again. Can I be honest with you? The person who hurt you, they just hurt you again because they kept you from the quality relationships that God has for you. Although it might feel safe, you're alone and isolated. And you need people now more than ever. And let me challenge you with this. Do not let the pain of yesterday keep you from the quality of relationships God has for you today. Don't allow that to be true for you. That's the first reason. Relationships, they're just risky. They're people. And if we're honest, we're all a hot mess. And we're doing our best. And we get it wrong. And we hurt each other. Here's the second thing. Life is simply too busy. Why don't you have quality relationships, the quality relationships you have that you desire? Why don't you have that? Life's busy. And we deceive ourselves into thinking, well, when life slows down, then I'll prioritize friendships. I'll make that phone call. I'll set up that lunch. I'll have them over to the house. When I get through this busy season at work, I'll finally join a life group. When things slow down, then I'll finally have good relationships. Can I be honest? That's never going to happen. And you know it's not going to happen. So stop telling yourself it's going to happen. You know when you'll have time for good relationships? When you make time for it. Because there's a lie that says you're too busy. You're not too busy. You have time for whatever you make time for. And if relationships are important, all of a sudden you have time. If they're not important, I'll get to it one day. I don't have time to read my Bible. Yeah, you do. I don't have time for good relationships. Yeah, you do. But the pain of where you're currently at is not enough to propel you into making some changes and to make some switches in your priorities. Let's just be honest. You have time. You just choose not to. And I'm challenging you, change your priorities. Because your friends are a big deal. And most people, when they talk about just the quality of their life, it's determined by the quality of their relationships. I love life when I love the people I'm doing it with. Here's the last thought about why we settle we just don't have quality relationships. We settle for shallow. And I'll pick on social media for a second. I think social media is fine. I love that we're connected. I love that you and I are probably friends on Facebook. And if we're not, please be my friend. It makes me feel better. I'm very insecure. I just got to get more friends. Makes me feel better. I love that I get to see what you had for dinner. It's amazing. My life would be incomplete if I did not know you had spaghetti. Feel so connected to you. You love spaghetti too? Oh my God, I love spaghetti. My friends, double tap. I actually like social media. I think it has a place. I actually enjoy seeing what your kids are doing. I love seeing that you're dating your spouse. I actually like it. I think it's great. It's a great place to encourage people. It has a place, but it's just shallow. And it's deceptive. Social media is just deceptive. So I thought it would be funny to show you how social media, how deceptive it really is. Here's my first picture. This is what we post online. Family road trip, the kids, we're gonna kill it, yeah. 5 minutes into the trip, it looks like this. This is literally me over Christmas break with my children. We took them on vacation, Merry Christmas vacation. 3 minutes in, I'm like, I will turn this around, shut up. I'll beat some children. That was a joke. Anyway, don't email me. I'm not endorsing hitting children. Anyway, here's another one. New baby. Oh, mommy, the mom life. Oh, mommy, cute baby. Reality looks more like this every morning. It's a good day that you put on makeup. It's like you're winning. You have makeup on today. Sorry, ladies. Next, quickly. We all crop our photos, you know what I'm saying? We angle it right. We all do. Here's what it really looks like. After stealing all of my children's Halloween candy and too many Thanksgiving meals and Christmas parties, too many Christmas, that's me. I'm cropping my photo. Here's the last one. Me and my friends, we're hanging out. It's so good. I love my friends. In reality, it looks more like... That one's a little sad, let's be honest. That one's a little jabby because it's true. We're craving connections and we're all staring at a screen. But that's social media. It's deceptive. It's just not true. Social media is an amazing place to share life's highlights. But where do you go when you actually experience some pain? Where do you go when you need some wisdom for a season you're in and struggling with? Do you take a poll on Instagram? Hey guys, life's advice. Please don't do that. There's idiots on the internet. And they're all your friends. No, I'm kidding. But we're all struggling for connection. And it's great. Social media is great for celebrating the highlights of life. But where do you go when you experience pain? Because although we're connected, we're not in community. You know the me I portray, you don't know the real me. And you have to have a place that you are known, that you don't have to pretend, you don't have to act like you got it all together. You need a place. You need a people. You can let down the walls, stop pretending like you're perfect and got it all together, and every day is Friday. It's not true. You need a place where you can be honest and you can be real. See, your friends are a big deal. Massive deal. And I was reading, as I was studying for this message, I did two things. One, I read every scripture in the entire Bible that used the word friend. There's over 219 of them, so I read them all just for you. And then I did a ton of research. And I'm like, how do friends affect you? And how does this happen? And I found a verse. It says this. This is Proverbs 13:20. It says, walk with the wise, you'll be wise. Associate with fools, get in trouble. This scripture came to life for me when I was 16. I was 16 years old. I just got a new car, and it was a Chevy Cavalier, the ugliest thing you'd ever seen. It was like puke tan. I think my grandmother might have owned it at one point, but it was a convertible. And I'm like, convertible. So me and my friends, we thought it was a good idea. New convertible. How do you break in a new convertible? Well, you get a bunch of water balloons, you drive around, and you chuck them at people. That's what you do. So I was 16. This wasn't yesterday. Calm down with your judginess, okay? I'm 16, and we're just driving around all St. Peters, Missouri, chucking water balloons at everyone. Kid gets off the bus, whack, whack. I was stupid, okay? I was stupid. Cars driving by, we're trying to wash them all for people, mobile, car washing. We end up in a car chase because a van did not appreciate how many times we pelted his car with water balloons. And he's chasing us through neighborhoods, and we get in a cord, and we turn around, and he's coming this way, so we hit him a few more times, like, we thought it was awesome. Come to find out, your man is on the phone with the police. He did not appreciate my gift of a clean car. I get pulled over, and because back then I didn't love Jesus at all, and I was very stupid, I mouthed off to the said police officer. He did not like my mouth, and he arrested me, impounded my car, and gave me a ticket. I had to go to court. All of that was because of my friends. My friends thought it was a good idea to act stupid. You get around stupid people, you do stupid things, and you end up in jail. What I learned then, what that verse just told us, the voices in your life determine the choices of your life. What that verse is telling us, what that story was meant to communicate, if you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You hang out with a bunch of stupid people, you're going to do stupid things. And here's my question. Or let me say it a different way. Here's what I'm trying to communicate. If what is normal for your friends becomes normal for you. What's normal for your friends becomes normal for you. So here's my question. Is forgiveness normal for your friends? When life gets hard, is running to prayer normal for your friends? Is gossip normal for your friends? Is pride, selfishness, laziness, complaining, is that normal for your friends? Because what's normal for your friends becomes normal for you. And if we want to change your future, you're going to have to change your friends. If you want to change your choices, you have to change the people who are giving the voices in your life. And what I was doing when, I read all these verses on friends, but I also did all this research. And it was shocking how much your friends change and affect your life. It was shocking. There really was not an area of your life that your friends did not affect. Not one. Not one. So they did this research, this study. They took your 5 closest friends, and they said, your 5 closest friends, how do they affect your life? And it was shocking. It's almost like the Bible is true. And they took your 5 closest friends, and they asked a bunch of questions. They did a bunch of research. And did you know that if you're 45% more likely to gain weight in the next year if you have a friend who struggles with their weight? You're 61% more likely to smoke if you have a friend who smokes. They said this, if you have a friend who's happy, you're more likely to be happy just because you have a friend who's happy. They also said this, take your 5 closest friends, add up their annual salaries divided by 5 so you get a median income. The likelihood that you make within $10,000 of your 5 closest friends was staggering. Like, I need a raise. You need new friends. You're 75% more likely to get divorced if someone in your 5 friends was divorced. It affects your health. It affects your relationships. It affects your outlook. And it affects your income. There was not an area of your life that your friends don't affect. Not one. And maybe some of your struggles, you need to take personal ownership of it, for sure. But maybe some of your struggles, maybe the reason you can't get past that offense is because you and your friend, every time you get together, you rehearse the offense. I don't know why I can't get past it. Change your friends. I don't know why I just end up, one beer turns into 8 beers and all of a sudden I'm hungover and I don't know. Change your friends. I don't know why we end up in this, conversation, this relationship. I don't know why I end up here. Change your friends. Because what's normal for your friends becomes normal for you. You're going to have to change your friends. That's why 1 Corinthians 15:33 says this. It says 4 words, then it says 5 words. I love these 9 words because I can do math. It says, do not be deceived. Do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good character. And I love that it says don't be deceived because it's like God is telling you something before he's going to tell you something so you pay attention to what he's about to tell you. It's like, hey, don't be deceived. And then he's about to tell you something. Like, hey, you're going to think this doesn't apply to you. You're going to think you're the exception to the rule. We all have this propensity to think that we can do whatever we want and it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't change anything. We think sometimes we're smarter than God and we can just do what we want. My friends don't affect me. That's not true. Both scripture, research, your friends affect you. And he says, don't be deceived. Don't do it. Why? Bad company corrupts good character. The friends you have either reinforce your character or they decay your character. That's just true. It's impossible to live the right life and have the wrong friends. Impossible. I don't know why I keep struggling. Because it's normal for your friends to have the same struggle. And the dysfunction in your friend group is normal. And no one challenges you because that dysfunction is normal. That sin is normal. That habit is normal. That issue is normal. And no one's going to call you out on it because they don't want the mirror pointing back at them. No one's going to challenge you to come up higher because they would rather stay where they're at. The voices in your life, they matter. The people in your life matter. So if it's true that your friends are a big deal and they matter a ton, I'm going to give you two things of advice. Number 1, you need to reframe some friendships. You're going to have to reframe some friendships. And how do I know if this is a relationship that I need to reframe? How do I know? Here's the question you need to ask yourself about your friends. Are they pushing me towards Jesus? Or are they pulling me from Jesus? And if you're in my inner circle, my top 3-5 friends, and you're not pushing me towards Jesus, you're not in my inner circle anymore. I think sometimes with friends, for whatever reason, we think, well, we've been friends for a long time, therefore, we've been friends since high school. I understand that. Are they a good friend? We've been friends for 15 years. I understand. Are they pushing you towards Jesus or pulling you from Jesus? Well, that's my cousin. That's my family member. I understand. But maybe you don't need to be so close to your mama. Because your relationships matter. And just because you've been friends for 20 years and just because they carry your same last name doesn't mean you got to be close. Jesus had concentric circles of friends. He had thousands in a crowd, hundreds of followers, 72 disciples, 12 apostles, and 3 in his inner circle. He loved everyone equally, but he did not spend equal time with everyone. It is unwise to think that you can be close and connected to someone and them not affect your life. It is unwise. It is untrue. I can't stress it enough how big of a deal this is. Your friends matter. You want to break free from some habits, maybe get around some people who have broken free from some habits. You want to love God and love people well? Get around some people who love God and love people. That's why 2 Corinthians 6:14 says this. I love this verse. Well, a lot of times, anytime a preacher uses it, you should talk about dating relationships, but this applies to all relationships, especially dating. But nonetheless, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? What fellowship has light with darkness? What accord does Christ have with Satan? What portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? What this is saying is if I'm a believer who loves Jesus, which is the most important thing about me, if we don't agree on that, how can we walk together? How can we walk together unless we agree? Now that doesn't mean, well, they don't love Jesus, so I shun them. Don't be weird. I can never speak to them, they're a sinner. You are one too. It's just your intimate, close relationships. They must be people who love Jesus because they affect you so much. I love you, I care for you, I'm just not intimately connected to you. I'm nice to you, I still hang out with you on occasion, I'm just not intimately connected to you. Because my inner circle, my friends, they affect every single area of my life. And you and I have to be careful not to keep a close friendship that bears bad fruit. See, someone can be a good person and not good for you. That's possible. It's not that they're this terrible, wicked, awful person. It's just when y'all get together, it's just not good. You know, I remember I lived in Texas, and they had this thing called the HOV lane, a high occupancy vehicle lane. I love the HOV lane. Why? Because I get to skip traffic. You know, put a dog in the car and you're supposed to, they do it so that you can, so people would carpool so that, there's less cars. And so you get special access to this lane to go farther than everyone, to go faster than everyone, to bypass a bunch of traffic. If you have the right relationships, you get access to a different lane. And that's true of our relationships. There are certain relationships in your life that give you access to an area and give you access to a new thing so that you can go further, so that you can go faster, all because you're connected to the right people. My question for all of us, who is in your HOV lane? Who's in your car that is giving, or are you doing that for someone? Who's giving you that access to propel you into your destiny, to propel you into what God has for you? Who's in your car? Because God wants to take you further, take you faster, but he does it with relationships. Here's my last thought. Then I'm going to tell you some stories. You need to pursue some new friendships. You need to reframe some. You need to pursue some new ones. And the thing that I would look for in a friend is, are they in a growing relationship with Jesus? Are they in a growing relationship with Jesus? There's lots of things we could say, but I would say that's number one. Are they in a growing relationship with Jesus? That's the people I want in my life. That's the people I want to be connected to. And what I found is the best place to do that, the best place to find that, is in a life group. All throughout my ministry career, I've been in life groups, I've led life groups, I'm connected to life groups, and I thought about all my top stories. I'm like, man, I'm going to tell them this story, and I'm going to blow them away. Over 20 years of ministry, I got stories. I could tell you some stories. But I decided instead, don't just take my word for it. I asked my life group why they're in a life group. I have a life group. I've had one for years. We meet together in my home consistently. And I asked them, I was like, hey guys, I'm working on this. You need some friends that help you out when you're, needing something. So I asked my life group, like, hey, I'm working on this message. Why are you guys in a life group? Tell me, what's God done in your life? Why should anyone be in a life group? So my friends hooked me up, and they told me a bunch of awesome stories. I just wanted to read a couple to you. Alyssa said this. She said, our first week in a life group, we were nervous, we were kind of scared. So I made my husband, Alex, park up the street because we didn't want to be the first ones there. Y'all relate? And she said, that was week one. She said, but now, not only are we comfortable being first, she said, we're comfortable sharing our lives, opening our stories, and this group has been instrumental in helping us. Started out nervous and afraid, now she's comfortable. Lindsay said this. She said in 2018, they tragically lost their twin girls. She said, but it was the relationships that we made in this group that were such a help, relationships that we honestly at the time didn't even know we needed. So we've continued to walk out our fertility journey with new friends, and their stories have helped me, and I know mine has helped them. I love this. She said, this life group was life support for us in 2018, and it's continued to be so life-giving. Megan said this, not my wife Megan, different Megan. She said, because, why am I in the life group? She said, because I spent 3 years here in this state, because they're from out of town. I was drowning and alone, suffering from postpartum, mom life, guilt, anger, and we had no help, and I hated it here, and I felt so isolated. She said, but now, Missouri's home. We found our people, our church, and more importantly, found our life group. I love this. She shared it this way. She said, when we used to go out of town and we'd come home to St. Louis, I used to see the arch, and it reminded me of how much I hated it here, how much I was alone, how much I was isolated. She said, but now when I see the arch come into view, all I can think is, man, I've missed being home. I've missed my people. You need some relationships. You need some friendships. I don't want to overstate this, but it's true. You literally might be one friendship away from changing the course of your destiny. And I know it's risky. I know you've probably been hurt. I know it's difficult. I know going to a life group and you don't know anybody. I know what I'm asking you to do. But what I know to be true, and what all these people found out to be true, is the risk is worth the reward. The risk is worth what God can do in your life if you're connected to the right relationships. So this is my challenge for every single one of us. We have life groups starting. You can start signing up on February 6th. They launch February 13th. Do not exclude yourself from getting in relationships with other people. You need it more than you could ever know. People affect you more than you could ever imagine. And what you'll find in a life group, it's not a bunch of perfect people, because those don't exist. But you will find some people who are trying their best to follow Jesus together. And you and I need that. So that's your homework. Last semester, we had over 100 groups just at this campus for you to choose from. We'll have a bunch at this campus again for you to choose from. You don't have an excuse. But you do have, and this is what I believe. I was praying about you and praying about this whole pitch. What God did in my group, I believe, was just a picture of what he wants to do in your group. That God, it was like he divinely orchestrated people. You know how many people in my group struggle with fertility? You know how helpful it was to find out they weren't alone? God uniquely brought our group together. And I believe if you'll take a step of faith, he will divinely orchestrate relationships to be what you didn't even know you needed. Can you stand, and we're going to close in worship together.